What would you do if a complete stranger publicly destroyed your dignity based solely on the color of your skin, in broad daylight, in front of dozens of people, with your child standing right beside you, watching every humiliating second? This isn't some distant story from decades past. This happened just months ago in one of New York City's most expensive shopping districts, a place where money talks and status matters, where people like Zara Mitchell, a successful community organizer and devoted mother, should feel safe enjoying a simple weekend afternoon with her son. But what started as a peaceful mother-son outing turned into a nightmare that would expose the ugly truth about prejudice hiding behind designer suits and bank accounts. Before I tell you how the story ends, and trust me, what this millionaire didn't know about Zara would cost him everything he thought his money could protect. Hit that like button if you've ever felt judged unfairly, and let me know in the comments. Have you or someone you know ever faced discrimination in public? Because what happened next proves that respect can't be bought, and accountability always finds its way home. Zara Mitchell wasn't your average weekend shopper. As one of the city's most respected urban community organizers, she'd spent years fighting for housing justice and educational equality. She'd testified before city council, organized rallies that drew thousands, and turned neglected neighborhoods into thriving communities. But on this particular Saturday, she wasn't the fierce advocate or the voice for the voiceless. She was just a mom, a single mother who'd built her life through sheer determination, taking a rare break from her demanding schedule to spend quality time with her 10-year-old son, Marcus. They'd wandered through the upscale shopping district, window shopping and sharing stories. For once, Zara allowed herself to relax, to enjoy the simple pleasure of watching Marcus marvel at the luxury displays. The irony wasn't lost on her. Here she was, a woman who dedicated her career to fighting inequality, walking through one of the city's most exclusive areas. But she belonged here just as much as anyone else. She'd earned her place through hard work and sacrifice. As they paused near a high-end boutique, Marcus struggled with his jacket zipper. Without thinking, Zara knelt down to help him, her hands gently adjusting the collar and smoothing down the fabric. Such a natural moment. Such an ordinary act of maternal love. But sometimes, the most innocent gestures become the most dangerous triggers. That's when Philip Carlton appeared, sharply dressed in a tailored suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Carlton strode through the shopping district like he owned every sidewalk tile. His designer watch caught the afternoon sunlight as he moved with the confidence that only extreme wealth can provide. He was the kind of man who expected the world to bend around him, who'd never been told no and never expected to be. But when his eyes landed on Zara helping Marcus with his jacket, something twisted in his mind. Maybe it was the sight of a black woman in his neighborhood. Maybe it was years of unchecked privilege poisoning his perception. Whatever the reason, Carlton's brain took an innocent mother's gesture and turned it into a threat. "You don't touch my son." The words exploded across the busy sidewalk like a gunshot. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Heads snapped toward the commotion. Parents instinctively pulled their children closer. The casual buzz of weekend shopping died into uncomfortable silence. Zara's world tilted. Her hands froze on Marcus's jacket as confusion washed over her face. She looked around, trying to understand who Carlton was talking to, what child he thought she was threatening. The realization hit like a physical blow. He was talking to her about her own son. If this story is already hitting you in the gut, smash that subscribe button, because we're about to dive deep into what happens when unchecked privilege meets unshakable dignity. Carlton wasn't finished. Not even close. His voice rose higher, drawing more attention, more witnesses to what was about to become a public execution of everything Zara held dear. Carlton stepped closer, his voice dripping with venom. "What do you think you're doing in this neighborhood? This isn't the place for people like you. People like you." The words hung in the air like poison. "I saw you grabbing at that boy," he continued, his accusations getting bolder with each passing second. "Someone needs to call security. Someone needs to call the police." His finger pointed directly at Zara, treating her not as a fellow human being, not as a mother, but as a criminal who'd wandered into the wrong zip code. The crowd's reaction split the scene in half. Some people fumbled for their phones, recording what they sensed would become something bigger. Others looked away, uncomfortable but unwilling to intervene. A few whispered among themselves, their conversations a mix of shock and nervous energy. One woman pulled her husband's arm, trying to move him away from the drama. But nobody, not one person, stepped forward to defend Zara. Marcus pressed closer to his mother, his young eyes wide with fear and confusion. "Mom, what's happening?" he whispered. Zara's heart shattered and rebuilt itself in the same moment. She could have screamed. She could have fought back with words that would have cut Carlton down to size. She could have walked away. Instead, she made a choice that would define everything that followed. She stood taller. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in Zara's position? And share this video because these conversations need to happen in every community across America. "Sir," Zara said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her chest. "This is my son." But Carlton wasn't listening. He was just getting started. Carlton continued his verbal assault for another 3 minutes. 3 minutes of public humiliation that felt like hours. 3 minutes that multiple phones captured from different angles. 3 minutes that would destroy everything he thought his money could protect. Because here's what Philip Carlton had absolutely no idea about. The woman he was attacking wasn't just any mother trying to enjoy a weekend with her child. Zara Mitchell was one of the most respected community leaders in New York City. City council members had her on speed dial. The mayor's office consulted with her on housing policy. Activists across the country knew her name. She'd organized protests that shut down entire city blocks and turned forgotten neighborhoods into success stories. Carlton had just publicly humiliated someone who dedicated her life to fighting exactly the kind of prejudice he was displaying. The irony was brutal. The justice was swift. Within 2 hours, the videos hit social media. Twitter exploded first, then Instagram, then TikTok. The hashtag Justice for Zara started trending before Carlton even made it home. The footage was crystal clear. Every racist word, every condescending gesture, every moment of his entitled rage captured in high definition. Comments poured in by the thousands. People shared their own stories of discrimination. Local news stations picked up the story. National outlets followed within hours. Money can buy a lot of things. A good reputation isn't one of them. And once you lose in the age of social media, getting it back is nearly impossible. Carlton's world was about to crumble, one viral video at a time. By Monday morning, Carlton's comfortable world had collapsed completely. The mayor's office issued a public statement supporting Zara. City Council member Rodriguez called for a formal investigation into hate incidents in upscale districts. The NAACP, Urban League, and dozens of advocacy groups rallied behind her story. Phone calls flooded Carlton's business headquarters. Clients started canceling contracts. His company's stock price dropped 6% in pre-market trading. But the real power came from the community itself. Hundreds of people who'd worked with Zara over the years shared their own testimonials. Teachers talked about the schools she'd helped save from closure. Families described how her housing advocacy had kept them in their homes. Local business owners credited her with revitalizing entire neighborhoods. The contrast was devastating. Carlton using his wealth to tear someone down, while Zara had spent years lifting entire communities up. Detective Williams from a hate crimes unit received the case file by Tuesday. Body camera footage from responding officers corroborated every detail captured on social media. Legal experts started discussing potential civil rights violations on cable news shows. If you believe accountability matters regardless of someone's bank account, hit that like button, and let's discuss in the comments. Have you seen justice served when powerful people abuse their privilege? Carlton hired 3 different crisis management firms. None of them could contain what he'd unleashed. The community had spoken. The evidence was undeniable. The reckoning was just beginning. This story teaches us something powerful about dignity, respect, and the true meaning of strength. Zara Mitchell could have responded to Carlton's attack with anger. She could have matched his volume, his venom, his ugly energy. Instead, she chose something far more powerful. She chose grace under pressure. She stood tall when someone tried to make her feel small. She protected her son while protecting her own dignity. But this story isn't just about one woman's courage. It's about what happens when communities refuse to stay silent, when phones become witnesses, when social media becomes a tool for justice instead of just entertainment. Carlton learned what many powerful people eventually discover. Money might buy you privilege, but it can't buy you immunity from the consequences of your actions. Respect isn't purchased. It's earned through how you treat others, especially when you think nobody important is watching. Czar's response became a blueprint for handling public discrimination. Document everything, maintain your dignity, and trust that truth has a way of finding justice. Subscribe for more stories that challenge us to be better. And remember, your voice, your dignity, and your courage can change everything. What story should we tell next? Let me know in the comments below.